Inside my heart, got this everlasting light that's shining like the sun. It radiates on everyone. And the more that I give, the more I got to give. It's the way that I live. It's what I'm living for. You are magnificent.
Yes, I am.
I love it. And the reason I brought that was one of our members, as I was saying, is a first grade teacher. And he just informed us in the class that he took this to his school. And this is how this works with them, this is the reason why we get up at 5 a.m. in the morning, and why you guys get up and come here is because we're making such a difference on the planet. Because he went into his classroom and he says to them, you are magnificent.
Little first graders.
First graders. Then in conflict resolution, he says to them, when you're out in the playground and you're really uptight and you're anxiety, I don't care that you don't, before you do anything, just say, yes, and I'll give you an example. Yes, I am magnificent. I am Patrick Feren, a magnificent first grader. Something like that, right? And so then they have to say, and then they pick little popsicle sticks. He goes on and on. And he picks it, and then they say to you, and they stand up and they go, you are magnificent. And then who's ever popsicle stick, they say, yes, I am. And so he had a time that they came in and they wrote down, somebody was like auditing him, checking him out and writing down everything that he did. So that has now gone all over to all of the teachers, not only on the island, but off the island and all these things. So let's give him a hand. He's not here today, but let's just give him a hand. This is what we're talking about. It doesn't just happen here in the classes. We take it out into our world. And by doing that, and I'm just thinking, you're starting at that age level. By the time they get to my age of 28, they are going to probably... Was that funny? Yes. So by the time they get older, they won't be trying to redo stuff and cut cords and all of that stuff. So anyway, I wanted to share that with you. That's what's going on in our community, and you are magnificent. And we know that, and we can all say together what? I am magnificent. That's right, Kelly. Thank you. Already.
Okay, so we're ready to turn the time over to Jeevan to lead us in our opening song.
And it flows like a river. I'm ready to deliver. And it flows like a river in my soul. I got love like an ocean, love like an ocean. I got love like an ocean in my soul. I got love like an ocean in a heart full of devotion. I got love like an ocean in my soul. I got joy like a fountain, joy like a fountain, joy like a fountain in my soul. I got joy like a fountain in the faith to move a mountain. I got joy like a fountain in my soul. I got peace like a river, peace
Anyway, I want to welcome him up right now. Here he is, Brian McKenzie. He's also a member of our board of trustees. That's not a microphone.
I've got a booming voice, so I think you can all probably hear me. Molly and I go to a church when we live half the time in the Bay Area. We go to a church called Kauai in San Francisco, which is actually a Methodist church. And they open the services with this song that says, Savior, blessed Savior, when others thou art calling, please don't pass me by. And it speaks, you know, when others thou art calling, please don't pass me by. I've thought a lot about this, and it speaks to Protestantism, and particularly to Lutheranism. The notion of Lutheranism, you know, Martin Luther, the original Protestant, the guy who nailed the protest on the walls of the doors of the Catholic Church. And the notion was that people were moving out of medievalism into the new order, the beginning of the new order of things. And some people were called. And if you were called to a profession or a trade, and you were doing God's work, then you would manifest success, right? And so this song is about what happens if you are not called, right? When others thou art calling, please don't pass me by. Now, I don't know, this really speaks to me, and this is what I want to talk to you about, because I have had the feeling that I've been passed by and at times in my life, and perhaps you have. I grew up in the Protestant faith. I grew up as an Anglican in Canada. And I was an active member of the church. I was an altar boy, etc. And one day I went to the pastor, the Reverend Archdeacon Catchpole, and I said to him, you know that creed that we read, I believe in God the Father, and His only Son, Jesus Christ, born of the Virgin Mary. I said, you know, that Virgin Mary thing doesn't really ring very well with what I'm kind of going through as an 18-year-old. It was like an excuse maybe, you know? And he said, well, you know, that is I believe. And if you don't believe that, then you have to leave the church. And so I did. With his blessing. I mean, he was very nice. He gave me a Bible, you know, and said, you know, keep this, and maybe someday you'll see the light. But I left. I kind of covered my bets, and Molly and I got married in the church. But you know, basically we were gone, and we spent a lot of time never really quite hit atheism, but at least I spent a lot of time as an agnostic, a person who doubted. So in 2005, kind of the peak of my agnosticism, I was diagnosed with stage 3 melanoma, which gives you less than a 50-50 chance of surviving 5 years. When that happens, you know, when you're sitting in the doctor's office and he says, you know, not good news, little tiny thing this big, probably going to kill you. You know, it's like, it changes your life. So I, you know, had it removed, and then I did adjuvant therapy. And there isn't an adjuvant therapy for melanoma that actually works. There is one that's FDA approved, but it doesn't do anything. So I went into a clinical trial. Now, clinical trials are just, you know, I ended up having to do research, and I am a researcher, I have a PhD. I did research for my life. I gotta tell you, that's a whole different form of research. You know, I got access to all the journal articles, and I, you know, looked at probability curves and all of the, you know, risk versus reward, and okay, this is what I'm gonna do, and I settled on this treatment. And for a year, I had to face my biggest fear, which I just hate needles. Like, I pass out when somebody sticks a needle in me. And I had to inject myself for a year. I was But I did it. And, because I thought perhaps I had faith, you see. I had faith in science. And it didn't work. I had a recurrence. So I got the news that I had this recurrence and we had to remove it. But before we removed it, I had learned this in my last experience, I had to decide on the next step because this new promising kind of way of treating had to do with biologic cures where they need the tumor. So you have to make arrangements for them to save the tumor to make an antivirus or something. So I went back to all of my research and I was going through this research and trying to figure out which of the various paths, and it had only been 3 years, so not a lot had changed. And I couldn't, I'd already made, how this works? You make a decision and you get stuck with it, and it's really hard to break out of that decision into making a new decision, even if you're wrong. That's where I was. So I ended up, life carries on during this time, and I ended up in Los Angeles at a convention, and kind of sorting this thing out, and I had trouble concentrating on the convention, so I left, about 6 hours early and I went to the airport because I was flying on, I can't even remember the name of the airport. Anyway, so I tried to get
Virgin Atlantic.
Right. I tried to get on an earlier flight, and I ended up being stuck in LAX for 4 hours. Yeah. So I went to Starbucks and with my book, and I got a coffee, and I just sat and I was reading. And this guy, LAX, City of Angels, right? Los Angeles. Right, City of Angels. So I'm sitting reading my book, and this voice comes to me and says, "Do you mind if I sit down beside you?" And I realized that I had taken up an entire table, and I said, "No," and I moved my stuff over, and this guy sat down beside me. And he looked at me, and he said, "Are you Canadian?" I guess he picked up that thing in my voice, and I said, "Yes." And he said, "Well, now tell me. I've been listening to Michael Moore's thing on the Canadian medical system. What's it like?" And I said, "Well, it's a good system, but in my case, if I was in Canada, I would probably be dead. Because we don't have the adjuvant therapies accessible to us that we have in the US. And he said, "Oh, what's your situation?" And he said, that's very interesting." He said, "I'm an oncologist, and I was just at a convention of oncology in Los Angeles." And then he looked at his watch and he said, "Oh, they're calling my plane, I have to go." He said, "Here's what you have to do." He said, "You want to get into a clinical trial involving this drug called Nexivar," and he wrote it in the back of my book, and then he shook my hand and he said, "Good luck," and away he went. Never saw the guy, never got his name. An angel. I was visited by an angel. So I get in the airplane, I'm flying around, like my problem has been solved for me, right? I get in the airplane, and one of the guys, another professor, is sitting on the plane. So I sit down beside him, and I said, "You won't believe what happened to me." And he said, I told him the story, and he said, "Well, what if he was bullshitting?" And I looked at him and I said, "When was the last time an angel bullshitted you?" Certainty. You see, I was doubting. I was afraid I was about to be passed by. Right? And I wasn't. Happenstance, circumstance, I don't know what that was, a coincidence. I like to think it was an angel came and told me what to do. So I did that. And I'm now 6 years cancer-free. What does that have to do with the Center for Spiritual Living, you are asking? Well, it has this. as a part of my research, I learned something very unique. There is a whole set of studies that were done that said that prayer is very effective in treatment of disease. And in fact, you don't even have to be active in praying. You just have to have people praying for you. And this has been, double-blind studies, etc. This has been well researched, and prayer is very effective in treatment, more effective than the FDA-approved drug that doesn't work for melanoma. So, as part of my healing, Molly and I reawakened, if you will, our spirituality. I finally was able to separate religion from spirituality and realized that the bad experience I'd had when I was 18 had to do with religion. And we started attending a center for spiritual living in Oakland, California. And what I have learned from this experience is that I have not been passed by. That as long as I stay tuned in and open to this greater consciousness of spirituality, then I remain in a state of grace. I don't know what that really means, but it means that I am at peace within myself, and I allow. You see, I could have disallowed that angel at LAX. I could have said, no, that seat is taken. I could have said to him, I'm too busy to talk to you. I could have not taken his advice. I could have taken the advice of my colleague and said, well, that was kind of weird, And then, there was no correlation between the drug that he suggested and the treatment of melanoma. So, that I could have stopped any number of places, but I had faith, a renewed sense of faith. And so, the reason that I come here on Sundays, the reason that I take time out of my week to do this, is to remind myself of that spirituality and to remind myself that I have not been left behind, that I too have been called.
Yes.
So that's
So join me in this community reading. I am happy and complete today and forever. Within me is that which is perfect and complete. It is the spirit of all life, truth, and action. I am happy in the certain knowledge of this inner light. I radiate joy and life, for life is within me now. I am happy and complete. Do you believe that? Yes. Yes. Yes, I am. So now it's time for us to have a little Adjuvant time. We like to call this special music.
To sing the song that came to me to sing. Patrick, her beloved, emailed me and said, hey, would you do it dedicated to Rita? I thought that was really sweet. So I'm going to sing the song that I wrote for my daughter because I think it's the most beautiful song. Because we celebrate the beauty that you've brought. We celebrate that love is who you are. And at the end we say love is who we are. Your smile, it warms me like the rays of the sun. And your soul is shining. Love for everyone. So that's you, Rita. Your smile, it warms me like the rays of the sun. celebrate the beauty that you brought. We celebrate that love is who you are. Daughter of the ocean, goddess of the moon, you're dancing like a butterfly as you sing your happy tune. And your laughter fills the air, sweet music to my ear. And when I look into your eyes, my trouble disappear. Your smile, it warms me like the rays of the sun. And your soul is shining, love for everyone. Your smile, it warms me like the rays of the sun. And your soul is shining, love for everyone. We celebrate the beauty that you brought. We celebrate that love is who you are. And as you walk a beauty way, may rainbow colors fill your day. No matter what you do or say, we'll stand beside you all the way. Your smile, it warms me like the rays of the sun. And your soul is shining, love for everyone. Your smile, it warms me like the rays of the sun. And your soul is shining, love for everyone. We celebrate the beauty that you brought. We celebrate, love is who you are. We celebrate the beauty that you brought. We celebrate that love is who you are. So we are, love is who we are. Love is who we are.
Thank you for letting, and thank you for the birthday
Badge. We have a badge now.
Okay, so what I want to talk to you about today. Okay, so we're talking about cutting the cord, and we're not talking about the umbilical cord. We're cutting the cord of discord. So there's a quote. It's actually one of the principles in the Declaration. It's one of the principles in the Declaration of Principles that Ernest Holmes wrote a long time ago, 1927, or whenever he wrote it. That's we read at our installation, and this is one of them that I've always really stayed with, knowing that it is so the truth. And it is, we believe, the ultimate goal of life to be a complete freedom from all discord of every nature, and that this goal is sure to be attained by all. I'm going to read it again. We believe the ultimate goal of life is to be complete freedom from all discord of every nature, and that this goal is sure to be attained by all. That's the promise. Do you believe it's possible?
Yes.
Yes, it is possible. And I think that it's all about taking the sting out of discord. And I'm thinking about the other night when I was stuck on the freeway. Freeway. Oh, what a freeway. I'm like breathing Kauai right now. You know, our one road that goes through it is our freeway, right? It's our freeway. Freeway. And apparently there was an accident, and I didn't know. We were sitting in the dark for like 5 hours almost.
Wow.
Yeah, Chris was there. We had driven home from class, and all of a sudden everything came to a screeching halt. And we're new on the island. We didn't know like what happened. We just all of a sudden the traffic had went to a complete standstill, and nobody was communicating either. So we were just sitting there. And luckily, Chris Schumacher was ahead of us because he was one of our students and he left before us. And so I was texting him and he said, "Oh, there was an accident and there was a fatality and they're waiting for the coroner from Oahu." Well, now I was like a little shocked from that. Coming from LA, I was like a little shocked because I was like, well, then I thought, well, maybe that's a good thing we don't have a coroner here. Maybe we don't need him that much, so we can't employ him. So, or maybe he was just on vacation. I don't know. When they said that, I was like, oh my God, they're waiting for the coroner from Oahu. We're going to be sitting here for a while. So I text Chris, do you have any suggestions? What should we do? I've never been through this before. He goes, I suggest you go to sleep. So, okay, well, all right. Between that and having to, go to the bathroom every so often, I slept. But what I got out of the whole thing is, you want to control. You want to control these things. You want to say, I can make this different. I'm a science of mind person. I can make the traffic start flowing now. Well, because if I do my treatment, that's what's going to happen. Well, no. I don't have dominion over whether the traffic flows or what's happening. The only thing I have dominion over is my own mind. That's what we have dominion over. And this is the way we're going to take the sting out of discord. Now, this is a little thing, not for the people in the accident, but for me being stuck there on a freeway in the dark. That's a little thing. But can I change my mind about it? Can I look at it and say, you know what? I'm safe. This, and I'm sitting in the car with my husband, I have water, and this is not that big of a deal, Rita. Think about what's happening a few miles ahead of you or wherever it was. And then I thought, oh my God, am I here? I'm here on purpose. I'm always here. Wherever we are, we're here on purpose. It doesn't matter what it is. There's a reason I was sitting in that car. No, there were other people who went ahead of the accident, right? And they were home already. But for some reason, 100 cars or whatever, how many 100 cars were sitting there, we had called that experience to ourselves. For whatever reason, we called it to ourselves. I don't know, everybody's an individual journey. So I started to think about it, and I was like, don't be so wanting to rush this along now, Rita, wanting to get home so fast. Do you realize someone's making their transition right now, and you're trying to rush it? You're trying to say, oh, I need to get home now, I'm comfortable in this car. But somebody's making their transition right now. So what can you do? I can hold that person in my consciousness and that family or whoever they were and know the highest and best for them. And know that I can sit there in love and I cannot rush it because somebody's going through something right now. And isn't it wonderful to be able to do this service right now, Rita? So it just gave me a whole new perspective. And this whole idea that when things happen, the way we let go of discord is by changing our mind. It's like this whole thing with this plane that's missing in Malaysia. This is horrible, right? We look at it and we go, oh my God, this is horrible. Those poor people and their families and where are they? And they're missing. Are they dead? Are they alive? Well, first of all, they're not dead no matter what. We know that. They're not dead no matter what. Life is life, and life continues. We don't know what it's going to look like after this, but it continues and it's expanding. But life continues even when we're just standing here right now. Life is still continuing for those people, even if they're not, haven't passed to the next plane, they're still expanding in whatever experience they're having. So what can we do? Like I said in my prayer when I started this at the beginning, what can we do? What we can do is sit in the highest consciousness and know that good is unfolding no matter what. Good is unfolding no matter what. And yes, are these people in pain? I'm sure they are, and their families are frantic, but what good is it going to be for us to go to that place with them? It's not going to do any good. Our good is to stay in the highest consciousness no matter what is occurring, and to know that good is transpiring no matter what, and to sit in love, and to sit in our light, and know that. And I'm telling you, it is assisting if we can do that. It is assisting. I remember hearing a story about somebody that had passed, they didn't die totally, they just passed. They were in an accident or something, and they were out of their body. What do you call it when that happens? A near-death experience, where they actually leave their body. And they could actually hear people talking about it. They could hear people complaining. They could hear people saying, what kind of idiot crashed that car? They could hear it, because they weren't dead. So what are we doing when these things happen? How are we holding? This is how we're going to let go of discord, is by changing our mind about the discord, whatever it is in our life, and finding the good, no matter what. We can say that it's not easy to do that, but we make, as Ernest Holmes says, a riddle out of simplicity. We are more than sitting in this chair right now. We are so much more than that. And we are coming to totally understand that. That's what I know. We're totally waking up to this. And so the more that we can be in the love and find the good wherever we can find it, in the most horrendous situation, and that doesn't mean that we don't lift people up and help them and hold them and feed them if they need to be fed and take them to a doctor if they need to be taken. It doesn't mean that. But it means that we find the good. We see them. We see their spiritual selves. We see their highest place, because that's truly what they are. Everything else is just an experience. So I believe, I used to think that this quote meant that all of a sudden we wouldn't be, sick anymore, we wouldn't be this, we wouldn't be that, we wouldn't be this, we just, we all. And I believe that's probably the outcome of all this is going to be, because the more that we can find the good, Ernest Holmes says that evil will cease to exist. Evil meaning not evil like bad people running around, and meaning evil meaning turmoil and challenge and all that kind of stuff. He calls evil wrong thought, antichrist, when you're just like thinking things other than truth and wholeness. Well, he says evil will cease to exist when we cease believing in it. Now, doesn't this make sense? If we stop looking at things as evil and start looking for the good in every situation, soon, evil couldn't exist because there'd be nobody to believe in it anymore. That's what I know. And I know that that's what we're coming to. And I'm grateful to know that. Okay, yeah. So I think in this room right here, you guys, I see it in class, I see it when we're here. This is a very high group of consciousness people, or you wouldn't be sitting here. And we've come here for a reason. And all of us in our own individual way are doing something on this journey where we're doing it in our own individual way, not necessarily in this room, CSL Kauai, but in our own individual lives. And that's what we want for you. We want you to go out and prosper and be your light in your life. And then we come here and we get to enjoy each other, and we get to be a community, and we get to feel good and remember who we are and all that. But we each have a mission, and it's individual and it's unique, and we're here on purpose. I just know that. So that's my message for today. So let's just take the sting out of discord. Let me read the quote again. We believe that the ultimate goal of life is to be a complete freedom from all discord of every nature, and that this goal is sure to be attained by all. So let's just start today with whatever's going on in our life. We don't have to leap to the biggest, most horrible, tragic event. We can start right here, right now, with where we are. That's what I know. And so Thank you for listening. Namaste.
Namaste.
Thank you.
All right. I think it's time to talk a little bit about value. Last week, I was telling Brian that I didn't know whether or not to thank him for his talk or say, what did you do? Because the minute, what happened was I left, I was like, wow, okay. And then all of a sudden I felt a little depressed, to be honest with you. I thought, what? How could that depress me? Brian, you're not a depressing person. What? How did that happen? And I'll tell you what happened for me was he was talking of the money talk, but I went beyond that and I started thinking of my value. And I started thinking of the value of everyone in my life. And I started thinking of the value of this center. And I started to think, how much do I place, what value do I place on myself? And it's so funny because when we talk about value, we go to the money thing, right? Sometimes. Like, how much is that worth? And I was telling Brian that I see how value goes up and down because when we moved here, we sold everything. And my golden pieces that were worth so much were only worth what you'd pay for them. And I have to tell you, you didn't think quite as highly of it as I did. But that's okay. I'm cutting the cord on that. So, what I started to think of, how much was I worth? And that's a really interesting question. Have you ever thought of if you're going to sell yourself? Don't go there. If you were going to sell yourself, how much would I be worth? And then I had to say as much as you'll pay for me. Right? Or not. I am valuable beyond valuable. And why am I valuable? Because of who I am. Who I really am. Beyond everything. I am that light being, as you've heard me say many times that have come here. And how do you put a price tag on Patrick? When God had this concept idea and said, Patrick, how do you put a price tag on something that was there at creation? Worth a lot, right? Has my priceless. Has my value, is my value going up? Well, Brian also introduced me to this wonderful Dr. Howard Thurman. I'm not sure if you're aware of this person, but had some interesting things for me to think about. And Brian had told me, he said, he said, while you're reflecting, grab a hold of this. And I said, okay, so he wrote and he talked about this thing called the sound of genuine. The sound of genuine. And this is what he says. There is something in every one of you that waits and listens for the sound of the genuine in yourself. It is the only true guide you will ever have. Nobody like you has ever been born, and no one like you will ever be born again. You are the one and only. And if you cannot hear it, you will all of your life spend your days on the ends of strings that somebody else pulls. And I went, exactly, who's pulling my strings? I'm sorry, these reflexes are just amazing. Just so you'll know that sometimes I have a thought and it comes out either in words or in action. So I had to say, who's really pulling my strings? I'm just kidding. We're very equal in our time together. But I really did say, so what's pulling my cord? And what's really interesting is I thought of all the habits. I was saying to someone the other day, a practitioner in California, we were talking about prosperity and value, and I said to her, some of the stuff that I do and I react to, I don't even believe anymore. I don't even believe it anymore. Because it's such a habit of doing it that I forgot that I changed my mind about it. And it was a real eye-opener because I went, what? And it reminded me, I know, you laugh, why? Because there's truth involved in this idea that we are acting out habits and things that we've been doing for years, or I've been doing since I was a kid. And what I remembered is when I was a smoker. Yes, I had quite a lengthy run as a smoker. As a matter of fact, while I smoked, I actually defended it when California got all crazy. Yes, exactly. So what I realized about why I bring up smoking is I was smoking for a long time, and it was something I did. And then I quit, not because I was afraid of health. I was not. I knew beyond a shadow of doubt that that was never going to take Patrick. I just knew it. I couldn't even tell you why, when everybody else was telling me it would, if I continued on. What I didn't like about it was that something else controlled me. A substance that was like this big and this round owned me. It actually owned me. It told me when I could finish my conversation with you, because I had to go rush and get a cigarette. It kept telling me all these things. So I thought about this, and then when I quit, and it wasn't the easiest thing, with lots of water, lots of getting that out of your system, releasing my lover, because that's what it was. And I never thought I'd really talk about my addiction to cigarettes, but it was 25 years I spent with my lover. And I say that because that's how deep it gets when you have a habit, no matter what it is. When I released that cigarette, I was positive, right? That once I let it go, that I was free. So after I did all the detoxing and all the stuff and got all of that out of me, and I knew it didn't own me, it still did. Because I forgot to get rid of the habit. I forgot to go back to what I valued about smoking to begin with in the very beginning. And that was because it answered some call from me. When you're in high school, it answers the call that you're cool or whatever. But what was my value in it? And guess what I found out? Interestingly enough, I used my cigarettes as a screen to keep you out. Because if I smoked, you weren't going to come near me. It is one way to do it. It's a pretty not necessary way to do it. But who would have known that that screen of smoke was protecting Patrick and giving him that time to be alone, to giving him time? There's a lot of reasons behind it too. But the reason I bring up that is because it wasn't until I released the habit, to release the cause of why I was doing it, was I free. So I cut the cord of whatever that was that made me feel whatever it is, because that's all it's about. It's the only reason we come here. It's the only reason we do anything is for the feeling. What do you feel? Do you feel good? Do you feel, and then it got to a point with cigarettes for me that it just became just something I did anyway, a way of life. So then I stopped it. And this is all the other things. I pictured myself the other day with all these cords running out of me, attached to doubt, fear, insecurity. I'm just there's only one cord I intend to live with. And that's that cord that doesn't even need a cord. They talk about the silver cord leaving, the body, and there's a lot of stuff with cords, but I'm going to tell you, I don't need any cords anymore. Because cords mean that I need the connection. And I'm already connected. I am already placed in that place of such love, that place of light, that is what I value now about me. I value that. I'm going to end with another Howard Thurman. Howard Thurman actually says to you, what is your name? Who are you? And can you find a way to hear the sound of the genuine in yourself? That's what I'm inviting us to do. Genuine means what? It means authentic. Means true to you. Who are you? What is your name? Not your conditions, not your experiences, not what mom and daddy, not what your wife tells you. None of it. None of it. It's not that. Who is that genuine voice that comes up from you? And this is what he says in the end. And I want you to really get in bed with it, as they say. Since we were talking about that value stuff. This is what he says. Now, if I hear the sound of the genuine in me, and if you hear the genuine in you, it is possible for me to go down in me and come up in you. So, it is possible for me to go down in me and come up in you. So that when I look at myself through your eyes, having made that pilgrimage, I see in me what you see in me, and the wall that separates and divides will disappear. And we will become one, because the sound of the genuine makes the same music. Makes the same music. It always comes back to the same thing. We are not separate. We are individualized beautifully, which makes us unique. But we are one at all times. And I look at each one of you, as I always do, and I think to myself, how could I ever not feel value? We've made a pilgrimage together. Thank you. Mahalo. Mahalo. Namaste.
Blessed am I, Spirit am I am the infinite within my soul. I have no beginning and I have no end. All this I am. Blessed am I, Spirit am I am the infinite within my soul. I have no beginning and I have no end. All this I am. May the long time sun shine upon you. All love surround you, and the pure light within you guide your way on. Guide your way on.
And I know as we leave here today, we are guided at all times by that inner light. That light that says, yes, you are safe. You are warm. You are in the protection of that most highest. And that is that light that moves forward easily and effortlessly and powerful. That says, remember, remember, remember who you are. That genuine music that speaks your name. I am so blessed and so filled with gratitude for the time we have spent here today together, remembering, celebrating, and just saying, yes, I am that I am. So knowing this, we go out into the world and we don't keep it in this room. No, we share it. We take it from this room and we take it out into our world. We take it not only in the physical, but in the spiritual at all times, remembering that it is God meeting God no matter what. So knowing that, I just say thank you, mahalo, mahalo, mahalo for each and every one of us, for our courage, for taking this wonderful pilgrimage together, this inward pilgrimage that comes out and just lights the world. So together, as one in consciousness, we say, and so it is. May the long time sun shine